EPEX Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Greetings race fans, hello and welcome back to Apex Online Racing, where tonight we're in Northern Holland on the Dutch dunes, sand dunes as it is, and we're back to the second new track of the season, a return to an old favourite is Zandvoort for the reconfined Dutch Grand Prix. Hello, welcome along to tonight's stream, looking forward to an enjoyable night of racing. The Netherlands, or Netherland as you can see, literally means low countries, which is obviously a term known for the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, etc., because of just how low they are towards the North Sea. The likes of Jim Clark, Jackie Stewart, Nicky Lauda and Alain Prost were all world champions who have won here at this classic track back in the 70s and 80s, and this has been a return to the track for the first time since 1985. Hosting its first race in 1952, two DRS zones, the main one and the biggest overtaking opportunity down into turn number 1, into Tarzan Corner. Really look out for that. But of course that final last turn, huge amount of banking on it as well, is really going to make for a different spectacle to something that we normally see on the F1 circuit. And as you see some lovely overhead shots of the sand dunes in the nearby area, the North Sea lapping onto the shores, and what's going to be an exciting race here for AOR PS4 F1 once again. We've had 4 different winners to start the season. Will we see a 5th here tonight? It's soft, medium and hard compound tyres, 0.6 between the soft and the medium, 1.1 between the soft and the hard compound tyres, which could easily be a very interesting race indeed, and safety cars are very likely around here as well. My name is Andy Campbell. Thank you very much for joining us here this evening. It's great to be back in the commentary box once again. Before I introduce my commentating partner for this evening, just want to say a big thank you to Luke for stepping in last week when we couldn't be available, and of course my commentating partner in crime. He has returned, having done a few real life commentaries elsewhere. It is none other than Mr. Kieran McGinley. Kieran, great to be back in the commentary box with you once again, and looking forward to what should be another exciting night worth of action.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. It's fantastic to be back here in an Apex Online Racing commentary box, and nice to be back in a soundproof room, that's for sure, so I can actually hear myself think. But yes, fantastic to be back alongside you, Andy. I've ducked out of a couple of them, and I do apologise, but yeah, as you rightfully said, a big thank you to Luke Etheridge last week for filling in on his own as well. Surely and thoroughly thrown in at the deep end, but he handled it like a pro. So fantastic job from him last week. But what I have to say now is the Dutch Grand Prix, it's a very narrow track. And obviously we know, and you've already said about the undulation of these tracks as we go through the dunes. And as you said as well, the Netherlands, low countries, generally known to be flat, but the racetrack is anything but. So should it give us some fast lap times through there, and there may be limited overtaking opportunities, but that doesn't mean there aren't any at all. The high-speed section going through turns 4, 5, and 6 and 7 will really have to keep the drivers on their toes in order to make it through there in one piece. And of course, the final banked corner of turn 14 before you get onto the start-finish straight, you can take that corner full throttle all the way through there. Use the banking there to help you carry that speed all the way through. I'm thoroughly looking forward to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be a fantastic race, a very different track, as you very narrow, so overtaking opportunities will be at a premium round here, and the undercut could be a very good way to go, but that could leave someone exposed towards the end of the race if their tyres are wearing out. Time to have a wee quick chat over the results from last week's race at the Chinese Grand Prix, and it was a 4th different winner and a 4th different brand new first time winner as well to start the season, as Liam took the victory victory using the alternate strategy as well, having started on the mediums for the start of the race. He took the victory from Gio with Suso in third and Aero in fourth. A good result for Racing Point last week. Blizzard down in fifth, and then Lee Finlay, Caden Forbes, Surface, Mishi and Dario rounding out the top 10, and it was Surface with the fastest lap and the bonus point to go with as well. So a good result there for the Renault driver. He is still down as VRT. He has moved. I've not changed the graphics yet, so that'll be done for next week. On to the drivers' standings as well. In that second place, he's first or second in a row for IGK Guil, has put him into pole position in the Drivers' Championship now. 1 point clear of Blizzard in second, with Liam jumping up to third position due to that victory last week. Tied with Domi, but just ahead due to a slightly better result elsewhere as well. Then the two Racing Points Surface, Zach, who is not here again this week because he is doing French Formula 4 at Paul Ricard, having raced here last week at Zandvoort, funnily enough, in French Formula 4, and then Caden Forbes and Mish rounding out the top 10. It's very close still through that midfield section, but you can see the top two just starting to disappear a little bit there at the top of the standings. And then finally, the Constructors' Championship sees Williams still on the top spot, 101 points. Alpha Tauri in second on 86, then it's Racing Point in third on 66, and Ferrari still down at the bottom of the standings on 5 points, like they have been for the last 2 seasons. That's certainly not something the Scuderia would be wanting, Kieran.
No, absolutely not. And they will be hoping that they can turn their season around. Of course, it's a very, very long way to go. It's a long calendar. So there's plenty of opportunities to try and get yourself back up the order. But yeah, being down there at the bottom of the constructors' table is not what they wanted to be after the first 4 rounds of the championship. However, like I do say, it is a long championship. They may now be, 95 points off of their closest rival, but yeah, it's going to be tough for them. But I think if they weren't up for the challenge, they really wouldn't be they really wouldn't be trying as hard as they are. They will be able to get back up there. It's just a matter of, is it going to be too late after 4 rounds? It's going to be tough to call.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. They start need to get some points on the board. Not being helped by the fact it's been predominantly just the one driver, Johan, as well through the season so far. And just quickly before we go into the last part and take you to the track, shout out there, former F1 PS4 driver Nolan Lambert there with a small donation of €5.49. Thank you very much, Nolan. I hope you enjoy the stream here this evening. Big thank you for that. Thank you for everyone who's watching as well. I'm a bit of a nerd for looking at the numbers on the streams, and this stream in particular has had some fantastic numbers over the first few races. So big thank you to everybody who's been tuning in, and I hope you've been enjoying the show each and every week. Drivers are starting to go out on track for qualifying, but before we do that, it is of course time for the Scott Lap to show you this brand new circuit. But just before I do, thank you to Calspur, who did provide me with a Scott Lap for the Chinese Grand Prix, but of course we never got to see it on stream because I wasn't here last week. I'll maybe pop that up on Twitter at some point, but thank you for him for doing that for me regardless. But here's this week's Scott Lap, and then we'll get into qualifying. Welcome along to the second Scott Lap this season at a brand new track. We're here at Zandvoort on board the Red Bull with Paris Bureau, and coming up towards the start and finish line, strap yourselves in because this will be a very quick lap. Shortest permanent track in the calendar. We're already breaking into Tarzan Corner. Slightly banked in the way in, so we had a good overtaking opportunity with DRS down the front straight, down to third gear very briefly around the apex, then back up to fourth quickly, through turn 2 and then into turn 3, and this is a tricky braking zone here, into turn number 4, this banked corner. You can see Paris locking up slightly on the way and just drifting out wide, but getting the car straightened out as quickly as possible for this long sweeping run through the dunes, through 5, 6, use as much of the curb through 7 as you can, and then fly into 8, just drop it down to 6, bounce it off the rev limiter, use the curb on the outside, once again down to 6th gear to throw it in to turn number 9, and then slow it down for turn number 10, use a bit of inside curb, get the car slowed down up towards turn number 11. You want to get a good run out of here, because if not, you're going to get swallowed by the short DRS run up towards turns 12 and 13, the sort of stadium section chicane, around about 75 metres down the gears. Use a lot of the inside curb on the inside of the first part, then almost double apex it through the second. There's the second apex just about there, straighten the car out for the best exit. Up into what is turn 14, you want to get a good run through here as well, because then it's the run all the way to the line and up to Tarzan once again. Then at the final corner, turn 15, Ari Larendyke bend, 30 plus degrees of banking through here, very treacherous in the wet, and across the line we go, under just over 60 seconds, under 1 minute 10 for a lap, but that is Zandvoort circuit ahead of the Dutch Grand Prix. And there we are, that is the Scott lap for this week. Big thanks to Paris Bureau for providing that footage for us. And that's not the first time we'll see a Red Bull doing an extra little bit of video footage for us here this evening, as you'll see when we get to the session interval before the race itself. Just the 14 drivers here this evening, unfortunately. It's still not a bad turnout, could be worse, but I do know of a few drivers missing. Zach's not here again this evening. He's been racing once again in the French Formula 4. He was at Paul Ricard this weekend, so best of luck to him. Hope he's had a good weekend with that one. And obviously a few other drivers have dropped out. We no longer have Oscar Moreno. Sammy Bean has left as well, so we are down a few drivers at the moment. So hopefully that will get rectified very shortly. But it's still going to be a very good race here. We can see there's a Dutchman on pole position at the moment, provisional pole, Aero, on a 1 minute 8.444, 600ths of a second clear of Liam, last week's winner, in second, and Dario under a 10th of a second as well in third. But still early doors here in this qualifying session, as we're currently watching Lee Finlay coming towards the end of his lap at the moment, just coming up towards the end of the second DRS sector into this tricky little stadium section. You've got to really attack the curbs quite a lot around this track, and it seems like he's kind of strolling around a little bit there as a Scotsman, so maybe just putting in a little bit of a banker lap. In fact, Zach is here, apologies, I didn't think he'd made it home in time, so great to see him here. But yeah, we're down on a couple of drivers, and hopefully that will be fixed very soon. But with 14 very good drivers, we should still be in for a good race.
Yeah, and Zach comes towards the line, sets on 108.6 then, obviously only just under 0.2 of a second actually off provisional pole position. I actually had a closer look at that top 8. It's mightily close between them all now. Just over 0.3 of a second covering the 8 drivers that have set a lap time so far. So great and close between the top 8 so far, with still other drivers yet to set a lap time. Blizzard as well, currently second in the championship, was out on circuit but came back to the pit lane, so obviously just trying to lock in a setup just so that it actually does carry over. Obviously with the setup you can change the differential on throttle, and you can change the front wing between the qualifying and the race. However, anything else is locked in place, so you really have to pretty much nail down your setup in this qualifying session, and by going out there, at least now Blizzard has actually locked in his setup for today's race.
Yeah, absolutely, and the setup will be obviously very important. A lot of fast sections through here, despite some of the tighter corners as well. So it's a very tricky circuit with the undulations, despite the fact, as you said in your own intro there, Kieran, it is technically the Low Countries here in Holland. But should be an interesting race. We're watching Boss coming through in the McLaren through that banked final corner. Around about, I think it's 34 degrees if I remember correctly as well, that bank. And he's gone across the line there, but no improvement on there. Looks like he may be just starting his lap. So he's just onto a lap just now as he goes through Tarzan. And quite a few banked corners around here as well. Tarzan's slightly banked. Here's another one as well. Just coming towards the end of Sector 1 before we do this flying section through the dunes. And this part here is just flat out to the floor, and it's this next corner up here, this right hander now, just chuck it down a gear or two, back up to 7th quickly and keep your foot firmly planted to the floor. Very, very quick, and a lot of commitment needed through those corners. This Boss coming up there, he's got a car up ahead of him, which is I think it's one of the Mercedes. It's indeed, it is of Mish, who pulls out the way as Boss gets onto the DRS down towards the stadium section into turns 11 and 12. Got to keep it nice and tight and then just let the car run wide, keep the speed up. Then into 13 you want to get a good run through here, because now it's flat out all the way to the line. You go through the bank corner and up towards the start and finish line, but it looks like Boss, is he coming from pit lane? No, he's just sticking to the inside, and he goes into pole position, a 1 minute 8.365. just under 800ths of a second clear of Aero, so the home fans won't be too chuffed at the moment. Their man's been knocked off a provisional pole.
He has indeed, for the moment at least, with over 10 minutes of this qualifying session yet to go. Yeah, Boss taking pretty much a straight line, as straight a line as he possibly can towards the checkered, or not the checkered flag, the start-finish line, I should say. We're about 10 minutes away from the checkered flag, as Liam there, last week's race winner, 108.2 then for the Williams, puts it on provisional pole position, as he now gets his way to the top of the order. Domi there, now on a 108.4 in the Haas. He now goes onto the second row of the grid in third place. Surface moves up a couple of positions as well. He's now up to 7th place with that latest lap time of a 108.5. We have, I think that's a Red Bull coming around the final couple of quarters. It is Caden Forbes, but he hasn't got any ERS deployed, so either he's coming back into the pit lane or he's saving another lap, and he's doing the former, coming back into the pit lane. Dario across the line then finds another 10th of a second and now puts his McLaren onto the second row of the grid with a 108.4 for third place.
Yeah, so McLaren 1-2 at the moment, very close in the top 5, just under 0.2 of a second. And out of those drivers who have set a lap time, the top 10 are covered by 0.6 of a second at the moment. So it's going to be interesting because, as we mentioned, Kieran, it is quite tricky to pass around here in places. It is quite a narrow circuit in comparison to some of the tracks that we see nowadays that have got the big expansive runoffs and no grass area. You can end up with some grass and some gravel around here, but it is very tight. But do you think, with the fact that we do have a slightly lower amount of drivers than normal, that some drivers might decide it's better to start outside the top 10 and maybe go for the ultimate strategy at all?
It's definitely worth a try, especially if you're trying to get that strategy of going into the top 10 or just outside the top 10 in that coveted 11th place. At a track like this, where the alternate strategy could work a treat for you, it is worth giving it a thought, trying to qualify in 11th place. But obviously, you want to be the driver that qualifies in 11th, so that means you might have to set a lap time out there, but then it has to be slower than a 108.9 at this moment in time. Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one, but I think if you have the drivers here and the 14 of them, it's worth thinking about it. But we see Lee Finley's out there on an outlap. He's currently on the soft tyre, so it doesn't look like he wants to try this alternate strategy going onto the medium tyres, as he's just on his outlap now, making his way through turn 10 and onwards to that short DRS zone on towards turns 11 and 12. And watch on board with Lee Finley as he now tackles 11 and 12. You really just have to chuck that car into turn 11. And as you said, Andy, hold on to the car through turn 12, as you want to try and get that apex more than anything. It's only a short run towards 13, but you don't want to leave yourself vulnerable through there, and especially on your qualifying lap there. You can see Lee Finley sticking to the wall on the left-hand side through the banking on the outlap to try and build up as much speed as possible. You'll see Lee Finley probably taking a much shallower angle as the back end wants to step out of him through turn 1, as he now makes his way through turns 2 and 3, and then braking hard then in through 3 we go. That banking there helps you, but you've got that little bit of a crest over the hill, watching out for that wheel spin as you now make your way through turns 4 through 5 and then over this blind corner of turn 6, and then chucking the car in through turn 7 in 7th gear, getting that little bit of curb on the exit, then chucking the car through in towards turn 8, and then you start braking heavily in towards turn 9. Be careful not to lock a brake there, otherwise you will find yourself in a world of trouble now through turn 10. Trying to keep it nice and together, then opens the DRS once again for that short run towards turn 11. Look how much he'll attack this one. Purple through sector 2, bit of a lock up there into 11, and now in towards turn 12, trying to kiss that apex there, which he does, and manages to get the car exactly where he wants it through 13. Bit of curb on the inside, might have unsettled the car slightly, but you'll see now he'll take a much shallower approach and now try and make this as straight a line as possible as he gets towards the line. It's a 108.7 there from Lee Finley, and considering the timing stream went purple through sector 2, I'm a bit surprised that it was a high 108.
Yeah, so it just shows he's obviously losing a bit of time somewhere as Caden Forbes puts himself into provisional pole position. 5/1000ths of a second clear of Liam, who's still in second position. It's that close at the top between the Red Bull and the Williams driver. It's still a McLaren all second row with Boss leading. Dario Aero had put himself up into fourth position briefly, the Dutchman, but he'd been knocked back down to 5th due to Caden's lap time. Domi in 6th, less than 2 times still covered the top 6. Then we've got Surface in 7th, Johan up there in 8th, and as we said in the intro with Ferrari's Constructors Championship, they need a good result here this evening. Do the Scuderia. Zach in 9th in pit lane at the moment. Lap time for Lee's put him into 10th position now with Caden's lap time into pole, so he's just on the cusp, half a second down, and Wheel is the only other one to settle up. Is Blizzard. My goodness me, 2 tenths as the Williams man found, and the early championship leader from the first few races has just found himself a couple of tenths, but Domi straight away responds to get within just over a tenth as well, so they're really starting to ramp up here into the closing stages of qualifying. Just over 5 minutes to go. It's Blizzard from Domi, Caden Forbes, Lee on your top 4, with Boston Dario 5th and 6th, and that one puts Lee Finlay down to 11th, Wheel down to 12th, and we're still waiting on lap times from Mishi in the other Mercedes and Gamer in the second Red Bull, but only 5 minutes to go now. It's a short lap, but they're going to need to get a move on very soon if they want to get one in.
Yeah, Blizzard's lap there. If I could use 2 words to sum up that lap time, it would be on rails. It's as simple as that. That car looked so well up for that lap time. Meanwhile, Dario here is now on a flying lap. Yes, he's sticking to that right-hand side. Can he get an improvement in? He can, 0.06 of a second quicker. It doesn't move him any further up the table. He stays in P6. But at the moment, though, McLaren have locked out that third row of the grid.
Absolutely, they have done at the moment. Getting into the closing stages, there are only 3 cars on track, and they're all heading back for pit lane. Dario, Domi and Blizzard. Blizzard now reaching pit lane, as does the Italian of Domi, so seeing cars coming out of pit lane shortly. It's going to get pretty busy, but with 14 cars on track, it's going to make it a little bit easier, you would imagine, to get a clean lap in. If it had been a full 20, it would be a bit possible it might have got a little bit tricky around this relatively short and quick circuit. It's the worst place you want to catch a car in a hot lap is through the dunes, you know, that section from turn 4 onwards. Really want to avoid catching another car through there, but we shall see how things go with 3.5 minutes to go roughly in the session. We finally see Gamer on track, and I think this is his first excursion onto the track here this evening for the Red Bull driver, so he's going for a one and done deal, it would seem.
Yeah, sometimes that's the way to go. You just want that one lap, no more, no less, and to get yourself up the order as much as you possibly can. So yeah, this could be this one lap shootout then for Gamer. No pressure then, he's got to get this lap time spot on. No second chances for him then in that Red Bull, but look at this, he's got plenty of clear track ahead of him. Might have come out onto the track slightly earlier than maybe I would have preferred, but then again, there's a reason I'm in the commentary box here, Andy, rather than out on track. There's a good reason for it as well.
Yes, absolutely. Same reason why I'm here rather than out there, because my lap times would easily be at least 3 seconds slower. That's how bad I am.
Definitely 4 seconds, for sure.
I was saying at least 3, it's probably more like 5, but anyway. We've had some good races before just because of that, but anyway, that's a different story and a different day. Sam in the chat saying, well, we see a 7.9. Well, Blizzard's not far off a 7.9. If he can just find about even half a tenth is all he needs to find to get into that 7.9. It's a very real possibility to come into the end of the session. Maybe a little bit of slipstream from someone, maybe his teammate, who knows, but it's definitely possible. Unless someone else wants to try and pull it out of the bag instead, that could be very interesting indeed. We're watching Gamer at the moment on that one and only lap that he's doing just now, coming through sector 2 at the moment, and going to come up through the left-hander here to the back part of the circuit and down the second of the DRS straights. This is it here. He's not opened the rear wing by the looks of it, which is quite interesting to see.
Yeah, I think Sector 1 there from the Red Bull is a 19.5, and considering that, comparing that to Blizzard's 17.7, I think he's made a mistake out there somewhere. He's backed out of this lap, I reckon. He's going to go again. Yeah,
he's going again. The ERS has been turned down at the looks of it. It was at 90%, so yeah, I think you're right on that one. Backed it right up. Only a 13.6, so yeah, this is Gamer going for the lap now. He's locked up into Tarzan. That's so easy to do into that corner with the bank, and the camber of the corner just lifts the inside wheel slightly. It's so easy to lock up going into there, but the banking does mean you can go side by side if you're brave enough to swing it around the outside, and that's where you're going to have the most overtaking chances around this track tonight. We'll just follow Gamer for a little bit longer just now. Blizzard's on an outlap. Domi's out there at the moment. Caden Forbes, the Gamer's teammate, teammates out there as well. Pretty much everybody, in fact all 14 drivers are out on track at the moment. So we'll just catch Gamer coming round towards the end of his lap just now. Let's bring the track map up, see if anyone else is coming towards the end of a lap. I don't think so. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3. I think someone just slowing down. So that's not going to cause too many problems as Gamer comes through. He's up on his sector 2 time for sure. 4.6 seconds up on sector 2. So this is going to be an improvement, but how much of an improvement for the British Red Bull driver is it going to be? Here he comes towards the line. 30 seconds to go in the session. He's one and only lap. And he's backed right off. He wants to start outside, so it's 9 times down, a 108.9. But you've seen that he backed right off at the end there. He wants to start outside the top 10 here this evening in this session. Wheels just came out of pit lane, I think. Or has he just finished his outlap? I'm not too sure. I've just seen it disappear there on the screen. And if it was just coming out of pit lane, he's possibly going to try and help his teammate Zach to get up the order, which is in Wales, the championship leader. Very interesting. Checkered flag is now out for the session. We're watching Blizzard at the moment. We've got Caden Forbes, who's just gone up into second in the standings. Johan not able to improve on his lap time at the moment. Got a Mercedes coming towards the end of its lap just now. It is the flying Scotsman Lee Finlay. He's getting better and better as the weeks go by. He's always said himself he's not been too good, and Lee goes into 7th. Zach's unable to improve. Let's jump back to Blizzard. Provisional pole at the moment, and unless someone else can find it, this is going to be very close. Keeps it as far to the inside as you can. It's a 7.9. A 107.969. What a lap, and it was sector 2 and 3, but it looks like he's gone purple. I don't think he's gone purple in all 3, but brilliant lap time there. Boss is up into second. And the only driver on a lap at the moment, I believe, is Dario, but he's slowed down as well. So that's your session finished. Is Blizzard getting into the 107s, the only man to do so, and the Brit is flying once again. And I do believe, with my stats memory, which is usually pretty good as we've discussed before, I think that's his 3rd pole position of the season already.
Out of 5 is not bad at all, is it? And to be the only driver in the 107s in there, and I think on that second lap, I'm just having a look at his timing screens, he was 600th of a second off through his first sector, and then through sector 2 and sector 3 found just over 1/10 of a second to get himself into that 107. So great lap time there from Blizzard, and that just shows you the potential that he could go even faster. I'm saying right now that a 107.8 could have been very possible there for Blizzard, but he just didn't get sector 1 right there.
No, absolutely, but it's still an absolutely phenomenal lap time from him as we wait for the session to just wind down. The cars seem to be going round on their own. There's still a minute to go. Yeah, this is fun, but we'll let it run through. But that's a brilliant lap time from Blizzard, and there we go. Finally, the session has come to an end, and it is the Williams on pole, and it is his 3rd pole position of the season for Blizzard. 3 out of 5, and he's really proven to be the man in these qualifying sessions. And there you go, a 17969, just over a 10th clear of Boss in second on a 108.1. Caden Forbes in 3rd, not too far off in a McLaren. Domi in 4th, within 0.2 of a second as well. Then Liam in 5th, Aero in 6th, Dario in 7th, Lee Finlay up in 8th, Surface in 9th, Johan rounding out the top 10 in the Ferrari, all on the soft compound tyre. Then Zach, Guil, Gamer and Mishi, and just over a second covering the field here this evening. Even if you just go down to 12th with Guil, championship leader, just over 3/4 of a second covering the field. That's pretty close out there.
And don't forget, P13 and 14 backed out of their fast lap time, so that's not going to be representative. I'm going to say it right now, the whole field is separated by 1 second. Under that, in fact. So this is going to be a really good race with all 14 drivers pretty much on the pace with each other. And this is the part where we have to try and sort of work out who could be the one that takes advantage, who's the one that could try and take the race win. Could Blizzard take a race win here in the Netherlands, or are we going to see perhaps a 5th different winner in 5 different races this season? It's all to play for, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we do get a 5th different winner in 5 different races, I'm getting 2012 vibes again, if you remember that one. And remember, the 5th round of that season, Spanish Grand Prix, Pastor Maldonado. There you go. This is going to be an interesting race for sure. With the 14 cars in the grid, they're all so close together. We're watching at the moment the other Red Bull that I was talking about earlier, and it is that lovely RB6 that took Sebastian Vettel to his first of 4 championship titles in 2010. You remember that final race went down to the wire. I think there were still 5 drivers in with a chance of winning. Vettel, Hamilton, Button, Webber and Alonso getting stuck behind the Renault of Vitaly Petrov really cost him and gave the German his first championship. But lovely car, 2.4 litre V8 in the back of that, just screaming around the sand dunes. Absolutely fantastic stuff and absolutely perfect timing as well, because they're off from their formation lap. Couldn't have timed that any better. Thank you very much, Ali Monda, for that one, because that was exquisitely timed and he wasn't even here.
Yeah, I know, fantastic. Yeah, I remember that 2010 season like it was yesterday. I still back that it is my favourite season of Formula One that I've ever watched. Most people say 2012, and for good reason. But for me, 2010, where 5 drivers went into that last race, still in with a shot of the championship, that's just absolutely fantastic towards the end there. So, yeah, we obviously don't talk about the season that happened between them, but anyway, there was a bit of a. I can't remember who dominated that one. Doesn't ring a bell.
No, some German, I can't remember. But anyway, there's your predicted pit stop strategies on there. 1 stopper, soft to hard, lap 11 to 13. Around about the same if you want to do a 2 stopper to get off the soft compound of tyres, but then go into a second set and then maybe mediums at the end. Let's have a little look at the tyres outside. We've got Zach and Guil, the 2 Alpha Tauris, have gone for the medium compounded tyre, while Gamer and Mish have gone for the hard compounded tyre. So they're going a longer way into this race here before they decide to stop. That could be very interesting as we get towards the end of the race as well. So we need to keep an eye on them, especially the 2 Alpha Tauris. They've proven to have some really good pace. That Mercedes and Mish has been propping up in the top 10 quite consistently as well. So really need to be careful as Caden Forbes drifts his way in, under braking into that stadium section as they come slowly towards the final 2 corners for what is a 36 lap race. Might sound like a lot of laps, but trust me, hold on to your seats and grab the popcorn, because it's going to fly by and there's probably going to be quite a lot of action as well.
Yeah, and Blizzard's giving you plenty of time to grab that popcorn as he slowly makes his way now around the final banked corner on his way to the grid. And you know what, I'm thinking track position is going to be important here because there are limited overtaking opportunities. I can't see many drivers electing to go onto a 2-stop on their own choice. If they're forced to go on a 2-stop through early repairs, that will be the only reason. But I think most of the soft tyre runners will just put on a set of hards just after the 10-11 lap stint there and go to the end.
Absolutely, and as they line up on the grid, well, hopefully we get the timings to work this week as well, because sometimes they've been a little bit out during the last few weeks. But waiting on the 5 red lights, and we are racing back in Holland for the Dutch Grand Prix, and Blizzard's got a brilliant start off the line. It's going to be tricky to keep up as the timing standings go wrong, but Blizzard into turn number 1. Look at the McLaren there, a boss and Caden Forbes pushing side by side through Tarzan. Look out for the racing point there, that is Aero going round the outside now up the inside into 3, and he's going to sweep round the outside of turn 4 on both of them and take second place with a fantastic move there from Aero. That was brilliant stuff from the Dutchman, just taking pure advantage of the 2 cars ahead being too slow. And there's a huge crash. That was the Ferrari of Johan in that slippy section through the dunes into the wall. Wing damage there, not sure who collected him, but that's going to ruin his race already, and what a shame that is for him. But Blizzard is already about a second or so clear from Aero in second. It's Boss in third, Caden Forbes in fourth, Liam in fifth, Dario sixth, Dommy seventh, Leaf and Guil and Zach round out the top 10. But Aero 4 places off the start, including that fantastic move through turn 4.
Yeah, fantastic move around the outside. Saw that coming from a mile off, didn't he, Aero? And absolutely nailed that to perfection. More on that incident between Johan there. I think he was going side by side with an Alpha Tauri there, going through that high-speed S section of 3, 4, 5 and 6. And that was never going to end well at all, as he now finds himself spun around and hitting the wall there. Luckily, all 4 wheels still on that wagon, so he's able to fight another day. And we know about safety cars here, especially at the last banked corner and going into that first sector. It's very likely to trigger a safety car if there is a crash in those areas. So don't rule yourself out just yet. There's still a long way here to go at the Dutch Grand Prix, but Aero was not hanging around, was he? He's now up to second place in front of his home crowd, he'll be wanting to try and go for the win here.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be pushed on as well. Remember, he got a podium in Bahrain taken away from him due to a rescinded penalty for wheel. He did pick up a podium recently, though, as well, back in the in fact, it was Chinese Grand Prix last week, if I remember rightly, or was it Vietnam? I can't remember. It was one of the, in fact, he was close to winning in Vietnam. That's what it was. See, my memories are fading me. But he's been really, really impressive, has Aero, and he'll be looking to do some really good stuff here tonight for his home Grand Prix. We're already on lap 3, if my standings are correct, which I don't know if they are.
No, we're still on lap 2, coming on to lap 3.
Yep,
Blizzard now makes its way towards the light. This will be the third lap of this race then. Blizzard leading by 1.6 seconds now as he makes his way onto the third lap of this race in towards turn 1. Very, very critical to break that DRS zone from Aero, and he has used up most of his ERS battery to do so, but as long as he's outside of that DRS range, he should be okay. He'll be able to recover a little bit of that battery going through the race here. Liam is under pressure here for 5th place under Dario and Domi then as they make their way now through that high speed section now of 4, 5 and 6, and then eventually chucking the car in towards turn 7. Obviously very easy for the car to catch you out here from qualifying where the car is as light as possible, then going in towards the race on these soft tyres, already worn tyres, and on a full race fuel setup. You can really catch yourself up with the understeer that you'll get through that corner. But everyone's made it through so far through that high-speed section, apart from that Ferrari of Johan, who obviously with only one seat in that Ferrari filled, and they're already still only on 5 points in this championship. That is the last thing that Tifosi needed or wanted.
Yeah, absolutely not what they were needing at all, but he's now got a chance to try and make his way back through the field later on. I do believe he has gone on to a set of hard compound tyres, so we'll see how he goes. Oh, that's an AlphaTauri in the wall. That's an AlphaTauri in the wall. That's Zach just catching the wall on the way out. I've seen some wing fencing, I think, come off. There's certainly damage, and there is to the right, left-hand side, our right, of the front wing, and Zach has put it in the wall, and that is not what he'll have been wanting at all, and he's going to be struggling around for the rest of this lap to get back to pit lane, and that ruins his strategy as well, because he started on the medium compounded tyres, and he's going to have to pit early now, unless he tries to push on. But with that wing damage around some of these really quick corners like here, through turn 6, 7 and 8, that's going to be a huge struggle for him to stick around. Biggest gainers and losers on the opening laps, well, of course, Aero up the 4 positions from 6 on the grid. Brilliant start from the Racing Point driver. Other gainers, Guil, Gamer and Mish, who are 9th, 10th and 11th. They're all up 3 positions. Your biggest losers are Surface down 4, Johan with that crash down 4 as well, and then 3 positions lost for Domi off the line as well, so possibly the Italian getting bogged down off the starting line and losing a few positions. That's maybe what helped the Aero get up as well. Maybe the Haas driver held a few of the other cars up, but Aero's starting to slowly chip in to Blizzard's lead.
Dario's got the move done on the Williams then of Liam. Sorry to cut across you there, Andy. That's for 5th place as he makes the move in towards turn 1 with the help of that DRS there, and the Williams moves down to 6th place with no DRS to defend. Just a little bit more about Zach there. He's decided to stay out on that front wing, so he's obviously wanted to try and extend this stint. He clearly feels that he'll lose more time coming into the pits and going on to a different strategy rather than using these medium tyres, because if you start the race on the medium tyres, you really don't give yourself many options if in terms of a plan B. Either you pit him for a set of soft tyres, and if you've got another set of mediums, you go for those. Hards won't get you to the end at this point in the race. You have to go at least another 5 to 7 laps before you can even think about putting on a set of hard tyres. And even then, you know, you've already lost quite a bit of time at that point already. So I think Zach clearly feels that there is no plan B. He's got to stick with plan A. Well,
it's interesting as well, because just in the period of you talking there, he's lost about another half a second to Surface, who's got past him as well. So it does show he is struggling along. He's going to try his best, try and even just maybe get to maybe lap 10, lap 12, put a set of hard compound tyres on. Here comes Domi on Liam, though, who seems to be struggling a little bit at the moment as the Williams driver. And Domi up the inside, side by side, go the Haas and the Williams, and he's going to try and hold it out now, Domi, but Liam sweeps around the outside. Can the Italian maybe cut back through turn 4 here, use the cam, but he cannot, so good defending there from Liam, but he's nearly a second behind Dario already. and he only just got past the last lap. In fact, here goes Dommy now to the outside. He's on the grass, going up towards what's turn 7 and 8. Incredible stuff. Now he's going to go up the inside here. This is not an overtaking opportunity. He had to back out of that one there, and Liam's having to defend extremely hard. Now he's well outside the DRS zone, so Dommy just needs to hold on. He's got DRS coming up here, and if he can get a good run, maybe into the stadium section. If not, follow that Williams through up towards Tarzan, and he might get the move done, but he needs to be careful because Lee Finlay and Wheel are coming up behind very quickly. And remember, the championship leader in 9th is on the mediums, not on the softs, so he can go a bit longer into the stint as well. But good racing from both of them. That could have ended in a big accident though down towards turn 7 and 8.
Yeah, could easily have ended in tears, couldn't it? As Dommy now uses his DRS, what little of it has left. And now with that DRS open, moves to the inside line, going down towards turn 1. Down the inside he goes, around that long, looping right-hander of turn 1. The Williams tries to hang it around the outside, but Dommy's got the move done. Up to 6th place he goes there. And Liam there still right on the back of the Haas, trying to fight till that end. And that is Dommy then up to 6th place for the Haas team, the highest placed Haas driver at the moment. I think the only Haas driver in this Grand Prix at the moment. So he's doing quite well there in terms of trying to get Haas some decent points in this race. He's got Dario ahead of him, but 1.6 is the gap there. You're right. Something's not quite right with Liam in this race. He seems to be a little bit off the pace right now. Whether that is due to those tyres, because obviously different drivers have different amounts of wear, different setups can get you different amounts of wear too. Whether it gives you a good amount of grip in qualifying, but gives you high tyre deg in the race, that could be a concern for Liam there. And last time's race winner currently in the middle of this pack.
Definitely so. He'll need to try and push along. It's obviously driving style can play into tyre wear as well. If you're more aggressive, you could end up taking more off the tyre early doors. We're looking back towards the rear wing of Caden Forbes' Red Bull, as we can see Dario starting to close up under braking and use of DRS towards turn 1, and that's going to help these two guys, at least for now, stay ahead of that chasing pack of Dommy, Liam, Lee Finlay and Guile, because Dario's got the DRS. If he sneaks on by, if Caden plays it clever, he can then sneak back into the slipstream, use DRS elsewhere and make sure they stay far enough ahead. But it looks like the Red Bull has a nice wee bit of pace through this twisty section just now, because the McLaren isn't able to stay close enough at this point in time. But we'll just keep following this lap on board. See, just a little slide there as the tyre just starts to slip coming out of the right-hander there. It looks like at the moment there's going to be no move for Dario down towards turns 11 and 12. Late on the brakes, a little bit of a lock up there from Caden. And now Dario's right on the back, and you would imagine this is going to be the time now down into Tarzan when he needs to make that move. But he's just missed the apex there, going through 13. But he's got the slipstream now, and he's already closing up. This should be a pretty easy slam dunk. You can see the McLaren pulling to the side. We see it going by, and there it is in front, and that is Dario up in the 4th position. Big lock up there though from Dario coming out of Tarzan, but he's got the move done.
No, sorry, I thought Aero had a moment there, but no, he hasn't. He's still up there in 2nd place, but he is being closed in by Boss there, currently in 3rd place. He now makes his way all the way through turns 4, 5 and 6, and Boss has just been keeping Aero company for the last couple of laps there, just being in his rear view mirrors at the moment, as we now get ever closer to that first pit stop stint here. Dario in P4, there you can see Caden Forbes in P5 as we make our way through turn 9. Johan, meanwhile, all the way down the order, of course, after that first lap incident, 26 seconds off of Zach, who has that front wing damage, don't forget, and on a set of the medium tyres, so he's going to struggle for grip out there, but he clearly feels he just needs to get to that pit window, that earliest possible pit window, to get himself onto a fresh set of hard tyres that will get him to the end of the race. So in the long run, he's hoping that that costs him less time. Blizzard then comes towards that start-finish line to start the 10th lap of this race. A good sizable chunk ahead of Aero, who, speaking of Aero, the home driver comes into the pits.
That's an slightly early stop just on the start off the pit window. It was laps 10 to 12, setting the hard compound tyres going on. And it's one of these tracks where the gap between the soft and the hards isn't that big. It's only just over a second. Some tracks you see it nearly 2 seconds in terms of delta difference. You've seen Surface into the pits in the background, as well as Aero just trying to keep within the white line just and no more. And he came out behind Zach with his wing damaged Alpha Tauri, trying to drag it out, as you say, as much as he can, but he had dropped to 5 seconds behind Surface before Surface pitted and before Aero came in as well. So I'd imagine Aero will probably make a pretty light work of Zach once he gets the right place to make the move. Fresh tyres and a full aerodynamically friendly front wing, and here we go up the inside. That's a late lunge indeed from Aero. He's maybe, oh, that's just going through. Zach's going to fight it despite the wing damage on board that for AlphaTauri. He's defending with all his life, which with the wing damage it makes you wonder, but Aero really pushed it into a corner. You normally wouldn't see an overtake, so he knows he needs to get a move on quick, as Blizzard's in the pits as well now, so we'll follow Aero as Blizzard pits, as does Dario and Caden Forbes, and we'll just see what the gap is from Blizzard to Aero when Blizzard comes out, because it was about 1.6 seconds when Aero came into the pits. Zach defending to the inside line, but he's left a gap just wide enough for a racing point to sneak between him and the pit wall, and through he goes, and Aero's held on as well ahead of Dario, but the gap is 2.4 seconds, so Aero's lost nearly a second there, getting stuck behind the Frenchman. That's why he was so determined to get by as quick as he could.
Yeah, and I think Zach's fought even harder when Aero tried to move there. You wouldn't normally find a car down the inside sort of thing. So I think he made it even tougher for the racing point, just to say, no, you can't do that. You're going to have to try and pass me at some other point. There you go. He lets Dario through then, but you can see there, I think there's other reasons why that move happened. But Dario then up into P10, and now he can try and chase down Aero for that P9 as it stands, of course. Lap 11 of this race. Voss leads though, but he is yet to pit, and he should be pitting this lap, which he does. So the McLaren comes into the pit lane from the lead of this race. Domi stays out for another lap. Liam stays out as well. As we have, sorry, Liam comes into the pits. I read that graphic wrong. It says pit, and I said, oh, he stays out. Yeah, good one, Kieran. Lee Finley is the driver that stayed out, as Guil also on the medium tyres has stayed out. Gamer and Mish then, that means they're on the hard tyres. They're looking to go further into this race, beyond half race distance, of course. I predict they're going to pit around about lap 21, 22. It's one on a set of medium tyres. That should get them to the end of this race.
Yeah, absolutely, as we're watching the two hard compound runners just coming through the infield section. And a good thing for them would be to try and work together to keep things as close as possible, because they're going to be in a position. You can see Guil, the championship leader, is all over the back of the Flying Scotsman Lee Finley, who's soft compound tyres will be screaming in agony, and here goes Guil up the inside into turn 11, gets the move done. DRS assisted obviously, but not normally somewhere you'd see an overtake because it's quite a short straight, but Guil has made it done. The Frenchman through and up into P2 on the alternate strategy, looking to consolidate his championship lead with another good result here. His last three results through the last three races, he was second in Bahrain, first in Vietnam, second in China. So the only blotch on that was the opening weekend where he was 13th in Australia, and that was after getting caught out in an incident with Liam down into turn 3. So it's been very consistent for Guil. And another bit to remember, a pad runner, something you don't see too much nowadays, obviously, with so many people want to get onto wheeling pedals. Guil showing that you can still be uber fast and competitive even when you're still on the dual shock.
Yeah, absolutely, and it shows it's not impossible, it's just improbable, that's the only thing. But yeah, you've got a mountain to climb when you're on the pad and coming up against everybody else who's on a wheel. It's you can't be as precise, you can't manage the tyre temperatures as well, but there are plus sides to having a pad as well. In theory, you get a little bit more traction on the exit of some of the corners, but yeah, overall though, going up against wheels on a pad, I'd rather him than me for sure.
Yeah, I tried the pad again just briefly for a bit of fun, and I crashed in the first corner, so we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, really.
So I'm 5 seconds down on a wheel on these guys, and I can't even drive with a pad, so it just shows you how good he's doing. There you go. But no, it is impressive, and we're not going to start the argument to pad over wheel because it's all down to preference, obviously. As you see, Lee Finley coming into the pit lane in the background, so the Scotsman's decided enough is enough of those soft compound tyres. Domi's dragging this one out though, as much as he can, as Blizzard sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:11.4 on those relatively fresh 2-lap old hard compound tyres. He's got 3.2 seconds over Aero now, so even though Aero's cleared ahead of Zach, He's still lost about another half a second over those last few laps. Lap 14:36 here at Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix here on Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 Leagues. You're watching the top tier of the PlayStation 4 for Season 20, round number 5. Still got a long way to go in this season. It'll take us all the way through to February next year with the way the calendar is set out, so plenty of action still to come. If you are watching this and you're about to head off shortly to take part in your own races at 8 o'clock in the other tiers, good luck to you all, and hopefully you'll watch the rest of this race back later on in the evening. I'll just watch Guil here because I think he's going to want to try, if Domi doesn't pit here, which I'd imagine the Italian will, but if he doesn't, Guil's going to want to make short work of this Haas, because he wants to get a move on with the alternate strategy. But as you see Domi into pit lane, Guil just grabbing as much slipstream as he could and the DRS to boost, and Guil goes into the lead of the race. Mish moves up into second, just catching the end of that there as the Mercedes goes through on the Red Bull. Nice little move into Tarzan when it looks in it, and that's another good move, and he's been quietly improving his Mish over the first few races. You know, in Australia, I'll be perfectly honest, in my own opinion, I wasn't too sure in Australia where to put him, put Mish in terms of, you know, driving standards, how quick he would be, but over the last few races he's been quietly going about his business. He's now in the top 10 in the championship standings in 10th, and he's scored points in each of the last 3 races, so very good improvement to see.
I did wonder Domi was extending that soft tyre stint. He's rejoined on a set of medium tyres. So that possibly could get him to the end of the race, but he's got to do some serious tyre management towards the end of this race. I mean, it's going to take him, I'm just trying to do the maths in my head. 22 laps, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, so, I think a good gauge of this is going to be Guil, because he's on medium since the start. We can't really take Zach into consideration because he's wing damage. He's still pounding around out there with a broken wing, but if we see how far Guil can take those mediums on full tanks, that will maybe give us a better indication of whether Domi's strategy to get to the end on the mediums will work or not.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch though, because that means then Domi is one of the few drivers really going for that really aggressive strategy. If that's the case, soft to mediums is not something I was expecting to see in this race. Meanwhile, Lee Finley sends a move down the inside of a wounded Zach and gets that P11. Zach, I don't think he's going to battle too hard for some of these positions. He was just trying to limp to his pit window surface. Meanwhile, well, he was right on the back of Zach there, going in towards turn 3, but couldn't quite find a move down the inside, as they're all going to follow each other through 5, 6 and 7 then, as we now go in towards turn 7, this long right-hander here. And obviously on those hard tyres, you have to take it a little bit slower than you would in qualifying, in fact a lot slower as you would there. In towards turn number 9, surface here right on the back of Zach. Further up the field, we've got Domi here, who's on the back of the McLaren of Boss as we head our way down towards turn 11 and 12. And you can see here Domi has got the tyre advantage right now, but with still 21 laps to go in this race. He's got a long way to go, and he's got to manage those tyres effectively as they now make their way through that banked corner, the final corner on towards the start finish straight. Here comes Domi then with that DRS. No need for any ERS. He goes side by side with the McLaren and takes the position away into the braking zone. And Domi now moves up into P7 ahead of Boss, who falls down to P8.
Yeah, nice easy move there using the DRS, and I don't think Boss fought that one too hard, realised he didn't have anything to really defend against into turn 1, especially with Domi being on the medium compound tyres. Maybe thinking if I let him go, maybe he'll burn the tyres out before the end of the race and he'll have a better chance as we get into the later stages. Surface got through on Zach as well, as the Frenchman continues to limp around with that broken front wing. You can see it there on the left hand side, his left, usually on what is our right, as it is there. It's completely missing the end fence on that side, and he's been limping around trying to get to his pit window because he started on the mediums, and as you said, Kieran, didn't leave himself with too much of an option for a plan B if anything was to happen. Johan still pounding around at the back as Lee Finley picks up the first. We're at lap 17 and that's the first penalty of the race, so that's pretty decent.
I'm afraid it's not, Andy. We had a couple of penalties earlier on. I think Caden Forbes has himself a 3-second time penalty. Sorry to burst your bubble there.
Burst it.
Yeah, I know. I do apologise for that one. No, Caden Forbes has already got a 3-second time penalty. That was incurred on lap number 10. And then, yeah, Lee Finley's one is the second penalty of this race. 3 seconds added to the end of his race time. But quite a few drivers here on their last warnings as well. I'm just having a quick look through. Campbell has already picked up another warning 5 laps later, so he's still pushing as hard as he possibly can. Zach here is on his last warning. If he gets another warning, he will get a 3-second time penalty. He's going to have to rein it in a little bit. Even with that front wing damage, the stewards are not going to be any more lenient on you.
No, absolutely not. And there's a few places where you can, you know, you sort of going into that stadium section, the 11 and 12, you really do abuse the curb on the inside. We're actually coming up to it now, so we'll jump on board with Dario. You would have seen it in the Scott lap when we were going through it, so we slowed it down. But just up here, you can really blast your way over that curb, but if you just get it a little bit too much, the game will pick up on it. There's a few sections as well. I think going through turn 7, if you get too much of that outside curb, you can do that, but if you get too much of it, it will give you a track limit warning as well. So there's a couple of places where it can happen. These drivers also are going to try and maximise as much as they can through every part of the track here this evening. We're watching Dario at the moment, still chasing down Aero after their pit stops. Dario came in a lap later than the Dutchman. The Dutchman holding on at the moment. This is technically the battle for what is provisionally P3 once the top 3 do decide to come into the pits. Guil leads, your championship leader as well, on the medium compound tyres by 2.5 seconds from Michi. In second on the hard compound tyres, who's just 3/4 of a tenth clear of Gamer, who's also on the hard compound tyres in third. Those guys were 3 of the 4 drivers to start outside the top 10 on the alternate strategy. The other one is Zach down in 13th with wing damage. You can see that Johan's been on his tyres for 16 laps. He had a lap 1 incident going through the twisty section at 5, 6 and 7 where he hit the wall. So he's been obviously struggling his way through, but still on the track. A lot of people would have given up by now, so fair play to him for that. He knows with a slightly smaller field than normal that there's always a chance if someone has an incident that he might be able to grab it back, or even a safety car.
Yeah, of course, he had to replace that front wing very early on in the race. Went onto the hard tyres and has been on those tyres ever since. So maybe another stop, maybe to go onto a set of soft tyres towards the end of the race, try and get the fast lap of the race so no one else can get it in the top 10 possibly, is a strategy on the cards. But what I love about this as well is that now they've included a pit stop section to the race director. So I can actually see who's had the quickest pit stop in this race so far. And I can tell you that the quickest pit stop has been Blizzard's 2.579 from the Williams crew there, as they look to get that back. But it's very close between all of them. Roughly 2.5 seconds is the average. The slowest pit stop, well, excluding Johan's at the moment, which was 8.3 seconds to change front wing and tyres, was Domi's pit stop in the Haas, 2.623. But those hundredths of a second really do count in this race. And as we head into lap 20, 17 laps to go, 16 and a bit if you're picky, and Guil is your race leader, yet to stop on those tyres. Mickey and the Gamer behind, same story applies to those two, still having to hit there. Blizzard then in 4th place, 1.5 seconds behind Gamer, and it really is your effective race leader, as I believe that is Guil coming into the pits then. 19 laps on those tyres he managed, that's from a full tank of fuel. So for me, Domi, he's got a good chance of finishing this race in a high position, so long as he can keep on top of his tyre wear.
Absolutely, and Guil and Mish come into pit lane, both of them. Mish did pick up a 5-second penalty for speeding, going on to the soft compound tyres for these last, what is that, 15, 16 laps?
That's going to be tough.
That's going to be a bit tight. That's going to be tight towards the end of the race in terms of tyre wear, but Domi could make it, because we were saying that Guil 19 laps, 20 laps on the medium compound tyres with a full tank of fuel. So Domi has already done, where is he? He's done 5 laps on them, so he's still got another 14, 15 laps to go. My maths isn't quick enough sometimes to be able to do the sums, but that decides the point. We can go there. Well, it's possible, but he's going to be struggling at the end, I think. Those tyres are going to be screaming enough.
Yeah, I mean, Guil and Meek are going to be having to do 16 laps on these tyres, which we saw from the front runners. Obviously, they have to start their race on the tyres they set their fastest lap on in qualifying. They did anywhere between 10 to 13 laps on their tyres. So, I don't know, actually.
Yeah, add 3 to that. You're about 13 to 16, so it could be possible. Lighter tanks as well.
So the only thing that he's got to keep on top of, or both of them have got to keep on top of, is how aggressive they use their tyres. Obviously, they're going to be motivated to get these moves done sooner, quicker and just try and launch down the inside with the superior grip. Speaking of which, Wheel then goes down the inside in towards turn 1, trying to fire it up the inside. Caden Forbes trying to hang on round the outside. They're still side by side, but there you go. The AlphaTauri gets the move done on the Red Bull before they get in towards turn 3, and that is a position gain for Wheel there. Moves now up to 7th place. Dario, meanwhile, is trying to get behind Aero once again as they fly their way through turn 7. We've seen this one before earlier on in this race. Dario just looming in the rear view mirrors of the Racing Point. So that only leaves Gamer then, who's yet to stop, the only driver yet to make a mandatory stop in this race. Once he does, he'll hand the lead back towards Blizzard, and Blizzard really wants to try and take a race win, his first one since Bahrain.
Yeah, his wheel just didn't quite expect him to make a move there into turn 11, up the inside before the DRS zone, so those soft compounded tyres are really getting him good grip and traction out of the corners right now as he makes a move on Boss. That looked like it caught the end of that. Not a place you'd normally overtake there. He must have got a good run out of the previous corner at turn 10 just to be able to sneak it up the inside there, but Frenchman on his way as Gamer has been passed by Blizzard as well. He was losing a lot of time during that lap wheel, a 1:10.826, and that is the only man in the 1 minute 10s right now. The closest to that is a 1:11.0 from Domi, so you can see that Guille's soft compounded tyres working rather nicely at the moment, but Blizzard retakes the lead off the race. And if we just put up the leaders bit, Aero's technically in second because Gamer's still at pit. The gap is 4.3 seconds. All the way back when they made their pit stop, that gap was 1.6. So the pit stop phase has not been kind to the Dutchman in third position at the moment. And these hard compounded tyres have not quite suited him, it would seem, as much as they are on the Williams of Blizzard, who's currently on his way to possibly becoming the first dual winner of the season. 4 different winners to start the season here in AOR F1, 4 brand new winners as well, first time ever for all 4 guys over the first 4 races. But Blizzard could be the first to do a 2-peat here tonight if he carries on as he is. Not that I want to put any drinks on it, of course, because that's the worst thing I want to do. Probably. The thing is, I could think it and not say it, and I'd probably have drinks them anyway, so it wouldn't have made a difference. Let's go back to Mich, who's in 8th position, the other driver on the soft compounded tyres. Zach has finally pitted to get rid of that wing, and he's on the soft compounded tyres as well. And look at this, late on the brakes from the Mercedes, and he gets it slowed down into Tarzan, making the move on Boss. That is a lovely move there, really, really late in the brakes, but have a lot of confidence in yourself and the car, and indeed your opponent there, to see that you are coming along. He's got the move done. I expect him to start pulling away very quickly indeed in those lovely red compound soft tyres.
Yeah, I'm not sure that McLaren of Boss saw that one coming at all. We didn't see it coming at all either. And I definitely thought, as soon as he pulled out of the slipstream there, I thought, don't try it, and it's not going to happen. But again, proving for the second time tonight why I'm in the commentary box and not out there out on track. But yeah, really nice new move there from Meek. He had to get that done because he's already lost 2 seconds now to Wheel up ahead of him. He really wants to be on the pace as much as he possibly can. Aero still under pressure. That slight pressure from Dario behind in front of his home crowd for Aero, as he's currently in 3rd place, of course. Gamer yet to stop in this race. Speaking of which, he's now dived into the pit lane on lap 24, and now we'll go on to a fresh set of soft tyres that will definitely get him to the end of the race, albeit well down the order because of how late he's pitted in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll look back up the rear wing of Boss as Caden Forbes and Liam are looming large on the back of the McLaren, but McLaren, Red Bull and Williams all in the one shot here. They've come through turn 4 of that banked curve, and so easy to lock the brake as Boss does, going through there, then through the curves of 5, 6 and up towards 7. And it's just so fast through these corners here. We're going to 7, just drop the gears, keep your foot planted and just let the gearbox do the work. Johan into the pits for his 2nd stop of the race, not able to take those hard compound tyres from lap 1 to the end. So he's going to finish towards the back of the field unless there's some late drama that maybe brings a safety car, which is easily possible around this track at certain points, so need to watch out for that. But Boss doing a good job at the moment, keeping Caden Forbes behind, but just locking up quite a bit as well. He just needs to be careful of that because that's going to cost him as he goes along. But you can see the gap there already to the Mercedes ahead, 1.7 seconds. That's the advantage that they've got with these fresh, soft, compounded tyres. Doesn't look like Dario's close enough to Aero in the distance, so we'll keep an eye on this battle for a moment for 7th, 8th and 9th. With Game are trying to catch up to them to make it 10th. Caden locks up into Tarzan. He's going to put him out of position nearly, but Liam unable to make any advantage on that one. And the camber of that corner, like a few of these corners, as you can see, Boss is really ragdolling that car, catching the grass there. But the camber of these corners, you can lock up easy, but it will help to pull the car back in line if you can get off the brake pedal, basically let it roll through the corner slightly. The camber will assist.
It will, and it's as simple as that. Let the track do the work for you through some of these corners. Caden Forbes here looking at the back of the McLaren there, but misses the apex of turn 9 there. In turn, Boss actually flicks the back end out on the exit of 9. So both drivers making a little mistake there. That's going to encourage Liam to just maybe try and go for a move even more. Now here's an interesting one. Battle for second place. Aero, Dario, Domi and Gwil, all on really different strategies here. Aero, of course, tried to get an undercut on all of them and has re-emerged in second place. Meanwhile, Gwil here could go for a move down the inside of Domi. Here he goes then, down the inside in towards turn 1. Last of the late breakers into turn 1, and he's got that move done on the Haas there. The Haas on the medium tyres, of course, getting those tyres to the end of the race, having started this one on the hard tyres. But Gwil now, his next target will be third place of Dario, and possibly then the second place car of Aero, the first place car of Blizzard. You know, at this moment in time, 6.2 seconds up the road from Gwil. Never say never, but it's going to be difficult because he's got to get past these two cars first, and he's got to try and keep these tyres in good nick as well. That's not going to be an easy task.
Yeah, it's going to be a tall order possible, absolutely. Not impossible, as you said earlier, just improbable is the likely scenario. He's got two very good drivers ahead of him. He's got Aero in second, obviously a home Grand Prix for the Racing Point driver. Dario looking to get McLaren some decent points. They're 9th in the championship, only on 7 points for the season so far, so they're looking to get a bit of a move on as well. So he'll want to sacrifice a possible third or fourth position, even if Gwil gets by, just to try and hold on to possible second. But he's got a very good run on Aero, and well, talking of that, he's going to go for second right now, because there he is. There's the Racing Point. Where is he there? Getting so close, going through Tarzan. Front wheel touching rear wheel, still side by side through the curve of 2 up to 3, but Dario's got the move done and up into second place. His problem now is that he's got no one ahead of him to get DRS, so he needs to try and get a budge on to try and at least give enough of a gap so that the DRS is not effective for the cars behind. Meanwhile, there from the back of the Racing Point, there is Wheel, the championship leader, and he wants to get by these guys. He knows his closest rival in Blizzard is in the lead of the race, so to try and minimise the gap through the whole of the season, he wants to be as close as possible. The gap coming into this race was 1 point. 1 point was the difference between Wheel at the top of the standings and Blizzard in second. So at the moment, Blizzard's going to reverse that and retake the championship lead. But how many points ahead is he going to be if it finishes like this? He's going to be a bit further ahead than it would be if Wheel can obviously get himself through past the Racing Point and McLaren. Won't be an easy job, but he's going to try his best.
Yeah, Gwil coming into this race, most podiums out of all the drivers, 3 out of 4 podiums so far this season, but a little bit too far back from the car of Aero. Meanwhile, Aero is looking for a move down the inside, this time in towards turn 1, putting the fight up to Dario as they head their way through. Dario has to go onto the curbs there as Aero wanted to shut that door. Here comes Gwil then. Will he try and move down in towards turn 3? Yes, he will. Dario almost sort of lets him go, and Gwil now moves up into third place there as he takes the inside line. Now he'll try and get onto the back of Aero, and Aero will be sweating under the collar there. He's on the hard tyres, Gwil right behind him on 7-lap-old soft tyres. This could be a huge turning point for Aero in this race. He might have to try and hang on to this podium for as long as he possibly can, because the cars behind him, Dario and Domi, will want that position too. And Aero is really going to have his work cut out for him in this race. Caden Forbes, meanwhile, is making life tricky for Boss here as they now head their way in towards turn 11. They've got Gamer behind him as well. There's the 2 Red Bull teammates, so maybe some team orders in action as we head down the start-finish straight. We'll have to wait and see. Back on board with Gwil then, because he's right in the slipstream of Aero as we make our way onto lap number 30. Gwil in that slipstream, in the slipstream of Aero with the DRS wide open there. Aero tries to move to the inside line, but it's no use. Guil has the line in towards turn 1, braking later, and now Guil is up to second place. 6 seconds separates himself and Blizzard with 7 laps to go. It's a huge tall order there, but anything can happen in this one. Caden Ford, meanwhile, still right on the back of Boss there, but Gamer's made a mistake into 1. Liam's all over the back of him.
Absolutely, Gamer did just recently get by on Liam just the previous lap, so soft compound tyres, he's only done 4 laps in them, remember, so we have much more grip than the Williams, and we did see the Williams driver struggling earlier on through the first stint as well, so it could be a chance for Liam just to hold on to that final points paying position here tonight. But Guil, 5.8 seconds on lap 30. There's 36 laps, so we've got 6 and a bit to go, and I literally do mean a bit because they're in sector 3 right now as well. Blizzard just coming around the final corner, the banked corner as well, onto the start and finish line. Start his 31st of 36 laps. The gap is 5.5. 5.5 seconds plus an overtake in 5 laps, 6 laps. That's going to be a tricky one indeed. Here comes Domi though, up the inside on Dario. Dario doesn't want to lose another place, having gone from what was technically 3rd. He's about to go down to 5th position as the Italian squeezes his way through in the Haas, gets himself up into 4th position. The Australian Grand Prix winner trying to hold on to the back of the championship battle as well between Wheel and Blizzard. They two have sort of broke out a little bit in the early stages. Domi, his Bahrain result has just dropped him a little bit off, so he's trying to hold on to the coattails and move himself up, and now he's going to try and hunt down another podium to add to his collection this season. He's had a win in Australia and a 3rd place at the Vietnam at the Hanoi Street Circuit, so he's looking to add his 3rd podium of the season to make it 3 from 5, while Guil, up in 2nd, is going for 4 out of 5.
Yeah, and looking at the pace right now, it looks like he's going to try and secure this as much as possible, whilst trying to also close in on Blizzard as much as possible as well. The only problem is there'll be that time in the race where the tyre deltas of the 2 compounds will pretty much be on a similar pace, and it's where the soft tyres will start to degrade worse than those hard tyres. Dario, meanwhile, on the back of Domi, looking for a chance to get back that 4th place, but it wasn't quite close enough to try and have a move there. Nick, meanwhile, back in 6th place. The Italian will want to try and get up the order as much as he possibly can here. Down in towards turn 3. Oh, he thought he saw the door open there. Wanted to make a move down the inside. Realised, though, that both those cars were on the racing line. Had to back out of it. But now he's making his way now through 4, through 5, over the crest then, as we head into 6, then through that long right-hander of turn 7, using that curb on the exit then, and then in towards turns 9 and 10. We make our way through now, and with only 5 laps to go here in this race, it's a bit of a now or never. Looking at the penalty scenario, well, our 2 frontrunners have no penalties. Blizzard has 1 warning, Guil has a warning and an invalidated laptop. So that's an interesting one. So that tells me that if he's got 1 more track limit warning before the penalty, whereas Blizzard is allowed 2 of them before he gets that penalty. So that's going to be an interesting one to keep our eye on. But it just shows you here how, well, not necessarily difficult it is to run the track limits here, but how lenient I think the stewards are when it comes to track limits here at the Dutch Grand Prix, especially the in-game stewards. They let you take a little bit more track limits than maybe other tracks might allow you to, and so the drivers take full advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's the quickest way around to take as much advantage as you can, take as much curb as the game and the track limits will let you do, because that's going to get you the quickest lap time. Gamer has gone ahead of his teammate Caden Forbes. That was down into what is turn 11, the end of the DRS straight at the back end of the circuit. He's obviously on the soft compound tyre, so he's going to try and see if he can get himself ahead of Boss and up into what would be 7th position here, and that would be his best result of the season. His best result so far was Bahrain in 8th position and a 10th in Vietnam, so at the moment he's matching his best result from the first 4 races. If he can get by in that McLaren, he'll improve in it by 1 position. Any further than that, probably not likely, considering that there's a 5.3 second gap between this lot and between these guys. Domi still trying to hold off Dario, and he's still got Mich in behind on the soft tyres in the Mercedes. I think the Mercedes might just be saving up a little bit of ERS possibly towards the end of this. Let's just have a wee look. Yeah, he's down at 11% is the Mercedes, so he's trying to build that back up for maybe one last gasp charge down the track. Meanwhile, Gamer going round the outside of Boss into Tarzan corner, and that we just caught the end of that there as I seen the timings change. That is a lovely move from the Red Bull driver, and just as I said he was going to improve if he can get by and get a better position than what he's done for the rest of the season so far. He does exactly that with a nice little move. Seen some good overtaking here tonight, haven't we?
We have indeed, and apart from that turn one scuffle, we really haven't seen any sort of incidents or collisions out there on track, so fair play to all the drivers for keeping everything clean as possible out there. For Aero though, he's in third place at the moment. By my calculations, he wants to get back-to-back podiums, and what a way to do that in front of your home crowd. Chinese Grand Prix, obviously, Chinese Grand Prix last time out, it was, as a bit of a rain-affected session, a bit of a rain-affected race. Managed to grab the podium there. He'll want to make it back-to-back podiums in the Racing Point, and what better way to do that than in front of your home fans in the fifth round of the season. Penultimate lap of this race has been started, and you can see the gap between the two leaders has plateaued at just over 5 seconds here. Blizzard leads the way, wanting to make it 2 wins in this season. The first driver to be able to do that this season, and he wants to try and get that win ahead of Gwil and take the championship lead provisionally after this race. That's what this means to them. Obviously, Blizzard and Gwil were separated by 1 point going into this race. Gwil leading the championship before this race. So Blizzard has a chance here to take that championship lead as we head to the Spanish Grand Prix next time out. But right now, we have got just around about 9 kilometers to go of this race. Hold on to your hats, because Blizzard here could be going for his second win of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Having waited so long for one to come along, it's going to be a second one, pretty quick succession. Gwil has closed the gap down to 4.6, but it's obviously not going to be enough without something major happening on the final lap. We're still watching the battle down the field for the last lot of points paying positions. Liam has really closed up to the back of Caden and has got Boss ahead as well, so they're really fighting it out. We are now on to the final lap of the race, and you can see just up ahead Dalmy is closed up on Aero, but he's not close enough to make a move into Tarzan. The Dutchman locks up, he's fighting for his second podium in a row, and he's got the charging Italian stallion in behind him, not able to do anything at the moment. Meanwhile, no change down the order at the back end of the field, so we'll come back towards these guys fighting over the final podium position. And at the moment as well, with the fastest lap, it's not going to be a bonus point for anyone because Zach's got it down in 13th position. Look how close to the back Dario is to Domi, getting really close through turn 7. Aero's lost it there. Domi sneaks up the inside. Nice save from him. Look at me sneaking through. Aero's been pushed off the track. Oh my goodness. Damage probably at the Racing Point. That's not what you want to see at the end, and he's been pushed out. But we need
around as well.
Yeah, oh no, Meek round as well. Down the field, there he is, backwards across the track, but we need to come back to the front because Blizzard's coming through the final 2 corners now, and it's going to be 2 wins in the season, the first dual winner of the season. Blizzard crosses the line to win the Dutch Grand Prix. Fantastic drive from him. Gwil comes through for second, losing the championship lead, but he'll hold on to Blizzard's coattails. Domi in third, Dario fourth, Gamer's coming up to fifth. Look at this run to the line. Gamer fifth, Boss sixth, Aero seventh, Liam jumps to 8th, Caden ninth, down to 10th, Surface up to 9th. Meek dropped out the session down to 12th in the end. How close were all of them? What was that? 2/200ths of a second between Boss and Gamer. 3 times between. Oh my goodness me, that is as close as you're going to see a run, all because of that last lap drama.
7/10 between 5th and 8th place there. What a finish between them all. Got a bit scrappy towards the end, especially for that battle for 3rd place. Dario is able to get that 4th place, but as you can see there, Blizzard taking his 2nd race win of the season. Pole to the win, but it's never as easy as that. He gets his 2nd race win and takes over the lead of the championship. Your driver of the day, the game's driver of the day, is Gwil, who made a great race and a great strategy to grab that 2nd place.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you've got to give him the props there as well personally, because he did come through the field on the alternate strategy as well, and he made it work very nicely indeed. But that man will be happy. We'll hopefully hear from him shortly. We'll need to just let the drivers know we are doing interviews tonight because we're both here, which is always good. So hopefully we can get a hold of Blizzard and Gwil and Domi shortly. But top 3 in the championship take the top 3 spots on the podium as well. So good battling through the field, but that last lap, goodness me. Oh, Aero losing it, coming through turn 8. Domi sneaks through third, thank you very much. Dario gets stuck, Meek tries to get through as well, and then spins through 10 and ruins it all. But Mr. McGinley, do your favourite part.
The official, unofficial results then of the Dutch Grand Prix. Blizzard takes the win and the championship lead from pole position to the race win. Guil finishes in second place with Domi in third, Dario in fourth with Gamer in fifth from 13th place on the grid. Boss in sixth with Aero in front of his home crowns eventually coming across in seventh place. Liam in eighth place with Surface ninth and Caden Forbes rounding out the top 10. Lee Findlay in 11th, Meek in 12th, Zach in 13th and Johan in 14th place. Fastest lap of the race went to Zach on a 1:10.4. He's outside of the top 10, so that means there's no bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. But we have a new championship leader going into the Spanish Grand Prix, and it's Blizzard.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get you the results of what the championship is unofficially before we go off the air when Kieran's going through the interviews. Just going to pop it quickly in the chat. Interviews for top 3, but hopefully we can get them in. I know Blizzard knows where to go.
Already, yeah, he knows where to go.
He knows where to go, thankfully. But hopefully we'll be able to get Guil and Domi in as well. It'll be lovely to hear from them all. But despite the fact there was 14 drivers, because I did see a comment in the chat during it. Yes, okay, it's not ideal being 14. We'd love to see full grids, but things obviously change. Everyone's got their own things going on, etc., etc., etc. Okay, it's not for me to gauge. But we still seen some brilliant racing out here tonight, and we're still seeing, 14 might not seem like a lot to some, but it's still a decent turnout in comparison to other times as well. I've seen some other tiers here in AOR, seen some other leagues elsewhere as well. I would love to see everything being full 20 drivers every week. That would be fantastic, not just for AOR, but for league racing as a whole. But I still think we've seen some really good action out here on the track tonight, and I think we'll see more throughout the rest of the season. And no doubt we'll get some extra drivers coming in soon, some reserves back in as well, etc., to help boost the grid back up. So it's not ideal, but it will change and it will still work, and we will still see some great action on track. And I think that's the best way to put it.
I think so. And don't forget as well, always judge the racing on the action you see. And I think, in all honesty, we had some great midfield action all through that race there. So I'm very happy with what I saw tonight in terms of action. All sort of went a little bit pear-shaped towards the end in that midfield battle and that battle for third place as well. But when you're desperate, you want to try and get the moves done as best you possibly can. And sometimes it can result in those. I think there's going to be a couple of trips to the steward's office, especially for that last lap. I think Meek as well will be wanting to go to the steward's office. He left the session and, he didn't go to the end of the race.
He was out of points by that point anyway, which is I think why he maybe done it. Probably didn't realise he wasn't going to get back to the points. So, no way. I don't see it was anything untowards done purposely to what I've seen from any particular driver. Aero lost the back end and it kind of put 4 cars in the one bit of track all at the same time. And then things happened. You're reacting on instinct at that point as well. Meek seen a gap. He went for it. I think that's partly what pushed Aero off the track as well, but I don't think it was an intentional thing. It was just him. He's seen a gap. There was action going on in front of him. Aero collected the car. Domi sneaked through. The Mercedes driver went, I'll have a bit of that as well, because Dario got stuck behind the racing point, boxed in. So it was just 4 cars in the one bit of track, and 2 into 1 hardly ever goes, never mind 4 into 1. So I from what I could see there, I don't think there was anything untowards. It was just last lap, things happening and everyone trying to react to it. It's my personal opinion anyway.
Yes, but we have now a new championship leader now going in towards the Spanish Grand Prix. We do have Blizzard who leads the championship as we head towards the Spanish Grand Prix. So I think he'll be very happy with that pole to the win. It's obviously it's never as simple as that. He had to have a bit there where, someone tried to undercut him. Aero tried to undercut him in that race, but he kept his cool, kept his composure, and kept out there for that extra lap. And that actually helped him because Aero had to battle traffic.
Absolutely. And speaking of the man who went from pole to the win, he's actually in the interview box now, so we're just going to jump over to that very quickly. There we are indeed. So we now have our race winner here to start off our interviews. Hopefully we'll get second and third in very shortly as well. But I'm going to hand it over to Mr. McGinley, and he has our race winner here this evening. Hopefully he can hear us, and he unmutes his mic.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm hoping he can hear us because his mic's muted. There we go. So,
Yeah, I
Kieran,
can
I'll
hear you.
leave. Perfect. So, congratulations, Blizzard. Great race win. I'm going to leave you in Kieran's hands because he's much better at this than me. I've got
Well,
sums.
no, always the part of the stream that Andy lets goes wrong. He hands it to me. Never a good idea. But anyway, yes, Blizzard joins me in the commentary box, in the interview box, if you like, after that race win. Blizzard, pole to the win, championship leader going into the Spanish Grand Prix. Pretty successful night for you.
Yeah, qualifying was very good. I did a 7.9, which was basically my PB. And in the race, after like the first 8 laps, I got into a good rhythm and just extended the gap from there.
Early on in that race, then, obviously, Aero tried the undercut, attempted it. Did you think at that point the race lead might have been in doubt at that point?
I didn't think he'd be able to gain 1.8 seconds because the hards are much faster out the pits. So I was just aiming to stay ahead of him and hopefully be ahead of DRS. I didn't expect to pull away from him after it.
And obviously, you have to keep that consistency at the Dutch Grand Prix. It looked like you did that. Guil at the end of the race, they're obviously on the soft tyres, but would you have said it would have been too little too late for him to try and grab the win?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's all I needed, really. Going into the Spanish Grand Prix, then you are the championship leader going into round number 6. So, what are your prospects there? What are you looking forward to about the Spanish Grand Prix? Can you get a good performance there?
Well, I've gotten all right results of tracks I don't like. I really don't like Spain at all. But I'll hope for a top 3, 5 maybe. Yeah, top 3. I'll aim for that race. I have to see because I'm not really used to Spain much. I haven't done it much in this game.
And obviously, your second win of the season, the first driver this season to have 2 wins next to their name. So, what feels better, the win at Bahrain or the win at the Dutch Grand Prix?
This one, because I managed to beat the alternate strat, which is quite good, and it was more dominating than Bahrain. Had quite a lot of fights there, and I was really just faster this time instead of having to fend off a lot of people. So this one was definitely better.
Fair enough. And you wait all that time for a top tier AOR win, and you get 2 come along in a matter of weeks. So congratulations to you. And I have to say as well, this early on in the season, a new championship leader. Do you consider Guil as your rival? And if not, who do you think are your rivals for the rest of the season?
Definitely Gil. I mean, it's too early to tell anyone else. Maybe Liam. Probably Liam. He's quite consistent with his results. With if he just has the right luck.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Blizzard. Congratulations on your win there. We'll just let you enjoy the rest of your night there with your second race win of the season. So we'll look forward to seeing you at the Spanish Grand Prix.
Thanks.
And at the moment, Andy, we don't have second or third place in the race so far. So
That's a shame.
obviously, it is a shame. And obviously, that would have caught you out a little bit because that just makes you have to go through all that order just a little bit quicker, probably as I'm speaking right
I
now.
am still adding up as we go. Yes, absolutely. You're not lying. I'm
well,
nearly there. I'm
no.
on the constructors at the moment. I've got the drivers done. A few changes through the order that we can see, but I'm just trying to get these quickly finished up before we go off the air. So I think what we'll do is I'll ask you the question for if someone was just tuning in now for the end of the stream, give them your summary of the AOR PS4 F1 Dutch Grand Prix. I think that'll work.
Watch it all out. Go back to the start of the video. That's what I suggest.
Don't jump out of this one. Of course, that's the obvious answer. God, I'm trying to shout. I'm trying to fight for time here. Help me out.
Well, I have to say it was a fantastic qualifying lap there from Blizzard into the 107s, and there was the potential there that he could have gone even quicker into the 107.8. Fantastic battling there for third place and a hectic end to the race as well. Quite a few different strategies on show as well. Everyone trying to throw their strategy at the race and seeing if it sticks. And we already heard from Blizzard there that he feels this win is the one that is better than Bahrain because he beat the alternate strategy. And even he says the alternate strategy is a really good one around Zandvoort. So obviously, the battle of the strategies come in. We had some really clean fighting, a bit of a chaotic end, but things happen like that, especially when people want to try and get that third place, fourth place, just a couple of positions up. So yeah, just to go back to my original point, back to the start of this video and watch it all over again.
Yeah, absolutely indeed. Right, I've got the championship standings done. Thank you. That was all I needed. Just that little bit extra time, because usually we've got a few others in for interviewing, and it means I don't need to rush through my maths, because my maths isn't the greatest at the best of times.
Yeah, you just needed that small waffle. That's all you needed.
Exactly, yeah. I've got to double check the maths sometimes, because it's not that great. It's why I'm skint every month. But anyway, that's a different story. So,
Well, at least don't make me do it. Otherwise, we'll be here all night.
So, Blizzard does retake the lead of the championship. He's on 86 points, 6 clear of Guil, who drops down to second. They're still very, very close together. Domi is in third on 55 points. So the top two have kind of dropped out of range almost. Guil's nearly is actually a full race win ahead of the Italian in third. So top two already starting to just try and make a bit of a gap on the rest of the field. Liam in fourth on 44, along with Aero, who's also on 44 in fifth. Suzo in sixth on 38. He wasn't here this evening, but he stays in sixth position on 38. Surface stays in seventh on 27 points. Caden moves up to eighth on 24, just ahead of Zach, who's also on the same amount of points. And Dario jumps up 4 positions from 14th. He is now in the top 10 on 19 points, putting Mich outside of the top 10. In the constructors, Williams still lead the way on 130 points, Alpha Tauri on 104, so they're the only two teams over the 100-point mark already. Racing Point in third on 72, Haas are in fourth on 57, Red Bull in fifth on 39, so no changes to any of those top 5. In sixth position is Renault on 27, tied with McLaren, who move up to 8th from 9th position. Mercedes drop down to 9th, they're on 26 points. Mercedes down to 8th on 26 points, Alpha on 9th on 21, and Ferrari are still rooted to the bottom of the standings on single figures of 5 points. So they'll be hoping, Johan will be really hoping for a good race sometime soon, because he's had a bit of unluckiness through the races. He had some wing damage in Vietnam as well, but what he really needs is a teammate.
Yeah, he could have done with a safety car in that race for sure. I mean,
well.
what happened in that first S section going side by side, either there was contact or he lost the back end and hit the wall, had to rejoin, had to go on a different strategy, had to go onto the hard tyres, which at that point wouldn't have got him to the race end. So he had to pit again to put on a set of soft tyres. I think from that point onwards, it was going to be downhill. He was really hoping for that safety car and unfortunately never came. But what I have to say is fair play to him. He stayed in the race. He didn't back out. He didn't pull over the car and retire from the race. He kept going until the checkered flag. And I have to commend him for that one because he gave it his all right to the checkered flag.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, anyone who knows of me and Kieran having commentated before here and elsewhere, it's one of the things I always say, unless the car's kaput, just go to the end of the race, because even if you don't gain any positions, you'll gain some more understanding of the car, understanding of your own speed or your own pace. And if something happens like a safety car or there's a big crash or a couple of cars drop out, you could pick up a couple of points, which could be very important. That's one thing I've always said. You'll know very well, you're probably sick of hearing me say it, Kieran, from the times we've been in the commentary box. Go to the end, because you never know what's going to happen. And I think that's a good place to finish.
I think so. Well, don't forget as well, next week we head to the Spanish Grand Prix. So make sure you tune in for that one. Hopefully, Andy and I will be with you now for the rest of the season, or at least the majority of the rest of the season. It's going to be me that lets Andy down, if anyone is going to let anybody down. So, but hopefully I'll be here for the Spanish Grand Prix, and I hope you will too, Andy.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be as well. As apologies for missing last week. I'll be honest with people, my health's been a bit up and down, so that's what's kind of done me on occasions. Last week just wasn't a good week at all with things going on, but all going well, we'll be here for the remainder of the season. But if anything was to happen, we've got plenty of good commentators here kicking around. Obviously, Luke filled in for us last week. We've got a lot of other good guys in the AOR as well, easily ready, available to step in if required. So really good team of commentators behind us. But yep, Spanish Grand Prix next week, October the 11th, coming up towards the end of the first 7 races before we have a 1-week break after Monaco. So we're not too far off the end. If you are still watching, thank you very much for sticking around to the end of the race and the interviews. If you want to be a part of the stream, I'm still looking for some people to help me out with the Scott laps that are broadcast at the start in the intro section. So if you want to do that, just look in the description below. You'll see my Twitter tag. Get in touch with me by DM and I will give you the details of what I'm looking for. And you could be a part of this stream. Doesn't matter what your talent is, as long as you've got a relatively decent pace to do a decent lap that's clean and show the racing line. That's all I'm looking for. But that is it for this evening. Thank you very much for watching. Like, comment and subscribe to the Apex Online YouTube channel, of course. We'll be back next week just before 7 o'clock to do it all over again at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya for the Spanish Grand Prix. But until then, thank you very much. Take care. Keep safe. My name's Andy Campbell.
And I've been Kieran McGinley.
And we will see you next time. Ta-da.